Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing here a deck profile for Salazzle. This is definitely a deck that I find to be quite fun, and honestly I thought I actually pioneered the idea, because when I first actually seen the effects of both the cards, specifically Salazzle and Weepinbell, I actually thought that both of these cards could actually work really well, as well as the confused Yellhorn, which is definitely a fantastic combo to actually make a ton of damage, and it's quite fantastic really. But turns out a lot of people have actually caught on to this and have actually built decks out of it, but this here is going to be my variation of it. It's definitely something that I find to be quite amazing for what it is. It's a single prizer deck, but it could definitely do quite devastating damage. Basically, if things go well, you could deal a potential 300 damage, which is just huge, and it's just for twin energy right here, so that's definitely fantastic. But before we get started, I would like to remind you guys to drop a like, share, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to also hit the bell notification as well. However, with that being said, let's begin. So to begin, we're playing here 3 copies of Salazzle and our 3 copies of Salandit. Believe me, I actually do want to play 4 copies of each one, I just don't have it. I did try to open up as many battle styles as possible, and I could only pull 3 copies of Salazzle. So if I had 4 copies of Salazzle, I would put in the 4th copy as well as the 4th copy of the Salandit as well, and that would definitely be the ideal ratios for them. But the idea behind Salazzle is essentially the twin energy, where you could deal 90 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon based on how many special conditions they actually have. So moving on here, we're playing our 4 copies of Weepinbell, and we're also playing here 4 copies of our Bellsprout. So these 2 cards are also the other 2 key cards in the deck itself as well. We are not playing any of the Victory Bells because you don't need them. It's Weepinbell that's really good here, and we want to focus on just the ability Dangerous Mucus. Basically, when you evolve this into your bench, you could pretty much make your opponent's active Pokemon get burned and have poison. So with that being said, that's 2 special conditions inflicted onto your opponent right off the bat there. So utilizing Salazzle as your main attacker, you're already dealing 180 damage right off the bat. However, there is a card we'll get to later on which adds on an additional condition as well, so that would be fantastic, but we'll get to that later. For the time being, this is pretty much what we'll go with. Now, if I actually had the 4th copy of Salazzle and the 4th copy of Salandit, then I would drop down 1 copy of Weepinbell and 1 copy of the Bellsprouts, and that would be the ideal ratios. Now, of course, we do need some supporters here, so I'm going to be playing 1 Crobat. We're going to be playing here 1 Dedenne GX, great cards to help you draw out whatever you need. We're also playing here the 1 copy of Jirachi, definitely all really amazing cards. They work incredibly for the deck itself. And of course, I'm also going to be playing here the 1 copy of Mewtwo. Just all great facilities for the actual deck itself. Definitely gets you everything you need, and this draws the Pokemon count up to 18. Now on to the item cards. We're playing here 4 copies of Quick Ball. Just an obvious card to go into. You have plenty of basics in the deck, even your GXs and your Vs. And of course, we're playing here 4 copies of Level Ball. This is definitely fantastic because both Salazzle and Weepinbell happen to be 90 HP, so it's actually quite convenient. Actually, the Weepinbell is 80 HP, while the Salazzle is 90 HP, so you have plenty of search power utilizing both the Quick Ball and the Level Ball. Definitely fantastic. And to keep up with the searching as well, to get you the specific cards you need, I'm also going to be opting to play 2 copies of Pokemon Communication. I feel it definitely works out really well by playing 2 copies of these. Now, sometimes your opponent might knock out your Pokemon, sometimes your opponent might actually get rid of your Pokemon beforehand, and sometimes you might even have to discard your own cards using cards like the Quick Ball, or maybe even through the research. So with that being said, I'm playing 2 copies here of the Ordinary Rod. I believe 2 copies is definitely quite necessary for the deck. Some players might actually play 1 copy, that's definitely very fair of course, but I've chosen to actually go with 2 copies because I believe it works best for me. However, I'm also going to be playing here 4 copies of the Scoop Up Net. Definitely fantastic. You want to bring back your Weepinbell, allowing you to replay it again and pretty much inflict more conditions onto your opponent. Of course, the ideal build would have 3 copies of Weepinbell and 3 copies of Bellsprout, so the Scoop Up Net, believe it or not, would actually apply a lot more in that particular circumstance. And of course, to inflict the actual 3rd condition onto our opponent, we're playing here the 3 copies of Yell Horn. Yell Horn is fantastic, it adds on Confused on top of the Burn and Poisoned, so it's definitely just really great to dish out 270 damage off Salazzle. Definitely really amazing there. However, we do have to retreat the Pokemon that we used Yell Horn on, that way we could get our Salazzle from the bench out onto the active zone. So what do we actually use? Of course, we're going to be using here the Air Balloon. The Air Balloon allows us to retreat whatever Pokemon we want, and it's definitely just really helpful in this particular circumstance to play just 2 copies of it. Now as for supporters, we're going to be playing here 1 copy of Leon. So this is the card that potentially allows you to deal 300 damage if it's actually necessary. With 270 damage, you're already going to be knocking out so many different Pokemon out there. However, sometimes you need that little extra push to just dish out a bit more. So the Leon will deal the extra 30 damage, pushing out to 30. Very powerful indeed, but you also have to keep in mind there's Burned and there's Poison as well. The Poison can guarantee 20 damage, and of course the Burn can deal another 10 damage as well. That's very powerful, pushing it to 330 damage. That would pretty much knock out the majority of Pokemon out there, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 Pokemon, such as a Snorlax VMAX. But what kind of deck actually still plays that in a frequent basis? Really rare occasion for that to happen. Now because you're playing such weak Pokemon, allowing your opponent to actually knock them out really easily, we're also going to be playing here 4 copies of Bruno. Bruno is a fantastic card, allowing you to just generate so much different advantages, and that is definitely the fantastic thing. We can play 4 copies of Bruno without any worry whatsoever. And for a bit of standard cards here, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Marnie as well as 2 copies of Boss's Orders. Both are really amazing cards, pretty much allowing us to generate plenty of advantage against our opponents. I definitely like these 2 particular cards, and disruptions will always be very fantastic. Boss's Orders can help you end the game as well, of course. Now of course the final supporter we're playing here is the 4 copies of Research, an absolutely amazing card to generate resources, to draw out your deck as much as you can and just get you what you need. And finally for Energy here, we're playing 4 copies of the Twin Energy. That shouldn't come as a surprise to you guys because this is pretty much how the deck works. It's supposed to be really easy to actually attach the energy and go for your attack. Now under normal circumstances, I would actually play Triple Acceleration Energy. Unfortunately, I don't own any copies of it, so we're going to be playing here Capture Energy, and we're also playing here 3 copies of the Heat Energy. Now the Heat Energy allows you to dish out 20 additional damage, so that's potentially allowing you, together with the actual Leon as well, to deal out pretty much 350 damage. That is actually really huge with the Heat Energy as well, and the Capture Energy just attaches on because Salazzle needs any colorless energy, so it works. And of course that also means you could also just add more Pokemon to your bench if you actually need to, such as the Bellsprout. But this is essentially what I play. Some people would take these out and then play in the Triple Acceleration Energy, and that is my intention once I get the copies of the Triple Acceleration Energy. Unfortunately, I'm still on the hunt for it, but if you guys are actually wondering, after the rotation, Triple Acceleration Energy does get rotated out, so because of that, you would actually benefit by playing these particular cards because they would actually be safe from the rotation. whereas with triple acceleration energy, it's going to be gone soon. So yeah, this is pretty much it for the whole build of this deck. It's really fun, it really does catch your opponents off guard, and you'll be winning really easily against decks that have never gone up against this before, because decks like ADP will definitely struggle against this because of how quick this deck actually is here at setting up its board. But with that being said, definitely leave me your thoughts as to what you think about all this. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I'll see you all next time.